about 7, 8 in the morning. I usually meditate for about 10 minutes. Then I go to an AA meeting. That usually takes me about an hour, hour and a half out of my day. I usually schedule that time to talk to my sponsees. I have 6 at the moment. People that I talk to on a regular basis about days going, yada, yada. Then I go back home. Then I play Call of Duty for 4 or 5 hours. Or I go for a run. And then I go to work. And I've been doing pretty much the same routine for about 4.5 years. When I first got sober, I was on a kidney transplant list. I was on the verge of dying. It was about 3-4 months before I got sober. I'm also a type 1 diabetic. I was 120 pounds heavier than I am now. And I still couldn't stop. And Nick has heard this story a million times. I'm running this like an AA meeting. I don't know, like I'm part of the program. The big thing about people getting sober is the shame that usually is involved with like saying, I have a problem with something. And I dealt with that my first year being sober. Now I don't really let it affect me anymore. Just like the shame itself is like, I try to like take things away from that. But lessons I taught myself how that affected my drinking and whatnot. But long story short, I was at this wonderful conference called Tales of Cocktail. You may or may not have heard of. I was blessed that Tales of Cocktail was always the 3rd week of July, which was always followed my birthday. So it was my birthday week, plus it was Tales of Cocktail. And at one moment, I had a whole big bag of blow that homies were like gave me because it was my birthday, and I had lots of cocaine. And I went to the airport, and I forgot that I had like all this cocaine on me. And in one moment, I was in the bathroom, and instead of throwing away the cocaine, I thought to myself, like, okay, today I'm gonna kill myself. And it was like that. It was like there was no, like I wish people would have like dealt with like mental issues and whatnot. But there was a moment where I was just like, well, it just makes sense. Like right now, I can't live like this anymore. I'm tired. This is no longer fun. I can't stop. I'm never going to be able to stop. Nobody will like me anymore. I can't do my job without drinking. It's impossible. And I don't want to do this anymore. And then my mother, Puerto Rican mothers are very special women. They have like instincts. I didn't realize that I tried to commit suicide at the same exact time that I was born. 10:30 a.m. in the morning. My mother always calls me at that time for the last 42 years, same time. And she asked me, like, Joey, what's wrong? And I'm just crying on the phone. And like, I don't know, I don't think I can do this anymore. And she's like, what? She's like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And then she kind of heard, everybody, you can always sense it in someone's voice. When it's like, there's something wrong. This is not someone I'm talking. This is not my son. This is not the person I love. And my mother told me a story where she was like, Joey, you're 38, that's when I got sober. She was like, you can be the man. Your father got sober, your grandfather got sober at 38, and your father died at 38. And right then and there, I knew I was going to kill myself for no other reason. I thought my mother was lying to me, she was full of shit. I was like, Ma, you don't even remember where you fucking left the keys. Like, how the fuck do you remember the year that fucking, my father, I knew he died at 38, whatever the hell. I was like, you don't remember, right? You don't remember you left the fucking keys. How do you know that Poppy, who I refer to as my grandfather? And she was like, Joey, he got sober the year you were born. It's like, you can be the man you always wanted to be, or you can be the man you never wanted to be. And I still tell the story, it still chokes me up, you know what I mean? It's just like, yo, man, it was like literally telling you the worst day of the life. And I called the only bartender that I knew was sober. And his name is Jan Warren. Usually I respect anonymity, but like Jan has given me full permission to share this story, and he's got a million phone calls too. Like today's Facebook post, one of the sponsees, died of opioid overdose today. I'm talking to him almost like 5 years later. We're still dealing with this shit. And Jan took me to my first AA meeting, and I've been sober ever since. Just like, I don't want to say like I'm not here to fucking. I'm not here to bring like everybody. The mood gets down and real somber and whatnot. I've been doing this for 22 years. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people know. If they have a problem or if they don't, or they have a friend that they think has a problem. You know, I'm just here as a polite reminder that, like, yo, man, like, you know, it doesn't have to be like this, you know? Like, it just doesn't. Matt, you go ahead, shut the fuck up.
You want it?
Go ahead.
I go to Nectaly Mendoza, owner of Herbs and Rye, and we launched our second venture, Faber. These things are always, I think, for a lot of people, really tough to talk about, right? You know, it's like people it's like the room always gets sad, like, let's not forget that we're all here, we're alive, so let's fucking cheer up a little bit, you know? You know, I had a good run. I don't regret anything that I did. I partied really, really hard. But my situation was same thing. I was at Tell's the Cocktail. I was going through a lot of the time, you know, with my first venture, Herbs and Rye. And I know a lot of people see Herbs and Rye now as this beautiful, extremely successful place. But we had a really rough run at Herbs for 4 years. I went homeless there, sold my car, paid payroll, blah, blah, blah. And in all that, you know, not as an excuse, but I didn't really grow up with much. My father lost his arm when I was 5. He raised 4 of us. Like, we just didn't have a lot of stuff, you know. But if we were paid by the way we treated people, we'd be millionaires. So when I saw success at a younger age, when I was like 17, but I always knew there was something different about me. When I was 12, I was drinking hard, you know. I knew there was something wrong with me at a very young age when I was, you know, throwing up behind a dumpster. You know, at the age of 12, 13, you know, I saw my first, like my brother took me in a room when I was 8 years old to see a girl shoot up heroin, you know, to teach me a lesson not to shoot heroin, you know. So I was opened up to things at a very, very young age. And then through the involvement of my life, leaving the neighborhood I was in, going into, you know, kind of the workforce, and it all developed into this thing where, you know, you don't really have much and then you're given the world. And then, you know, I did really well with the nightclubs and everything, and I saw just, it was a whole different world. I had never seen it, you know. My family never even went to a nice restaurant until I was fucking like 18. And then, you know, next thing I know, I'm on the main stage working with Bellagio, trying to figure out why I was here. Then we opened up Herbs and Rye, and I lost everything. And once I lost everything, we went through a really tough time, and then I got everything that I ever dreamed of. And it all just kind of came into fruition. So it was kind of crazy because to the world, I was kind of what everybody wanted to be, right? You own a restaurant, you're very successful, you're making a shit ton of money, people love you, everything's going great. We were winning awards left and right. We had won the biggest award Las Vegas had ever seen, the most awarded bar in the city. But to myself, I was completely, utterly just falling apart. My life as a whole was just crumbling, but to everybody else, they were like, damn, this guy's killing it. I was at Tell's the Cocktail, in my room, and I had gotten the news that my grandmother had passed. And I had had a few couple, you know, rough run-ins before that. My brother had passed away from AIDS 3 years prior. And I was still dealing with that, never really going for it. And I was using all these things kind of as an excuse to, you know, just fucking fuel the party, I guess. I ended up waking up in a lot kind of, you know, I don't really remember what happened. I know that I was partying really hard for 4 days at Tell's. I had 2 events to do the following 2 days. I came back to my senses. I remember somebody pulling me out of a bathtub, so to this day I don't know who it was. I do know only 3 people who were my room was. They know who they are, but somebody pulled me out of a bathtub. Mind you, I was 480 pounds at the time. I'm down 240 pounds. I've lost 240 pounds, something like that. And I sat in a couch, and I looked at the table, and I had probably about like $9,000, $10,000. And to the middle of that, I had a pile of cocaine. And then to the right of that, I had my phone. And that was it for me. You know, Giuseppe said it best, I was just tired. I was tired of living the life. I was tired of trying to be everything that everybody else wanted me to be. I didn't know who I was. I was kind of confused and lost. And I said to myself, I was like, fuck, man. Like, my whole life, I've wanted financial stability. I've wanted to be able to provide, have a family, live a good life, and this is what I prayed for. And God has given me this. I have all this money. And in return, what I've done with this now, what I've seen the success, is I bought all these drugs. And in return, I look at my phone, I'm like, I haven't called, my girl and my kids for 4 days. So it just came crumbling down. And then I made a phone call to Giuseppe, and I remember he's like, I've been waiting for this call. I didn't even know he wasn't in New Orleans, to be honest with you. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, party? I didn't know that he had gotten sober for a year. Like, he was like, no, I'm sober. I found out a little bit prior, which is when I started texting him. But I just hit a wall. And I was just tired. I didn't want to do anything anymore. And I went through a lot of stages because I went through a lot of stuff that was really tough for me because after I got sober, we kept winning awards. And this may not seem like much to others, but that is what really crushed me more than anything because I felt that we kept winning and we kept getting all these things that no longer meant anything to me, but it was a reminder that I kept getting shit for being the person that I hated. And that was really tough for me to accept. Like they're like, oh, here you go, here's another one. And then you start winning like the big ones, right? Like the big boy awards, and you're sitting there going, fucking hey. Like, this is just a reminder. And then I went through several stages, and I want to start off by saying, I don't ever pitch sobriety. I don't ever pitch somebody and say, oh, you need to quit drinking, you need to quit doing drugs, you need to quit doing, whatever it is that you're doing. I pitch happiness. I think that in our industry, we try to fit a role that is the role of others, and we base our self-esteem on the opinions of others, and that's absolute insanity. I heard this one time. It's almost like looking in a mirror, and you're trying to make your face look perfect in a mirror that's broken by adjusting your face. It's insanity. You're not going to be able to do it, opposed to appreciating who you are as a person. And I ask this question to a lot of people, but mainly I ask myself this question. Do I want to be an artist or do I want to be a clown? And I've said this to a few of my close friends when they ask me when I decided. And this is kind of, some of you guys may have heard the saying where a clown is purest when he cries because his tears washes his makeup away. And this is what I mean by all that. When I say a clown, I don't mean like you're a bozo, clown, idiot. I say this, we're all artists. We all have a form of artistry in us. Some of us are blessed with beautiful canvases, and they have amazing paintbrushes, and they can draw these beautiful canvases, and they know the worth of their paint. Some of us didn't have that. Some of us had spray cans and brick walls. It's understanding the artistry of who you are as a person and as a whole. And you have to be able to do that by understanding who you are. Before, we all jump on this stage every night, right? That's what we do. We jump on this stage, which is our bar. And you have to ask yourself, what kind of artist are you? A clown and a true artist, which I feel now I'm an artist in my purest form. A clown jumps on stage the same way the artist does. But here's the difference, for me at least. They may fill the same bar, they may fill the same amount of people, may make the same amount of money, but at the end of all of this, the clown gets dressed up, he paints his face, he does all these things, he performs, everybody laughs, jokes, has a good time, then they leave. Then I come in, and I'm a different style of artist. I go in my purest form, I don't have to dress up, I don't have to do nothing. I reflect who I am as a person. Whether they accept it or not, the best I can give them is me in my purest form. I can give the world the best gift I've ever given myself is me 100%. And the best gift that I can give anybody in the hospitality world is me at 100%. The difference between myself as an artist and the clown that I used to be was when the clown gets off stage, he has to wipe off his makeup. He has to take off this uniform, this facade, this thing that he's created. And then realize when he walks away that the world didn't love that purest form of him. They loved what he was portraying to be. Me, I walk off stage and people still know who I am. So that was the deciding factor for me. I wanted people to, A, understand what I was, and if they didn't understand it or accept it, I was okay with that because I accepted who I was as a person. That's kind of what broke down sobriety for me. I truly feel that people just simply need to look at themselves and ask yourself, am I happy with what I'm doing? If you drink and you're happy, that's out of my hands. If you drink and you're not happy, if you're doing drugs and you're not happy, those questions are for yourself, you know. One thing that Giuseppe and myself always laugh at is we'll go to bars, right? And the first thing you do is, you know, you get somebody who will come up to you and they're just like, yeah, I was sober one time, you know, fucking, I'll call you on Thursday. And I can just say,
Honestly, I don't care.
and I'm like, no, you're not. You know, like, this is not the time you would call, you know, and I said this to somebody today. I said, I've had one person reach out to me at FAR and say, yo, I need to get sober. Like, stop right now, walk away and go to your hotel. And they did. That's the way it works. There's no timeline for it. Like, for me, you know when it is time. You know when you make a good or bad decision because we all have guilt and we all have conscience. Like, you know when something's going to go south for you. You could be doing something right now. It doesn't even have to be that. Like, you can smoke a cigarette and be like, yeah, fuck that, I do that. You know? And I think sometimes we don't follow that in our purest form. You have to understand what it is that's making you happy and follow that. And not making the excuse on why it's okay for that situation to be. That's my personal opinion. But that's kind of where my sobriety fell into place, is the simple fact that I didn't like what I had become. And it was a deciding factor because at Tells that year, I so happened to bring out one of my closest friends with me, who grew up with me. Like, literally, me and this guy, I lived with his family. There's 12 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. Like we used to sleep in front of the fucking, in his kitchen. His mom would open the oven to keep us warm. It's like crazy. We grew up together. We genuinely knew each other. He knows me. He knows who I am. And then I'm in Tells hanging out with all these other people who are kind of like my other friends. And I'm sitting there fucking ripping blow, you know, doing mushrooms, fucking anything besides a syringe to fucking have a good time. And those two worlds came clashing together. And my friend who was like, knew me growing up was like, holy fuck, dude, I didn't know you got down like this. And the first time in my life, I felt fake. And I just couldn't look at that no more. I didn't, like, this guy really knows me. These people aren't, this is just where I'm at now. This is what I've developed into this fucking, you know, disgusting human. And I wasn't comfortable with it. He left Tells. The next day I was done. And that's when I'm sober. So I'm 3.5 years sober now, July 22nd, 2015. But that's what did it for me, man. I just simply wasn't happy. I was tired. And I decided to cut negativity out of my life. I asked myself about everything. Positive, negative. If it's negative, I walk away from it. Simply step away from it, I push forward. But that's where I was at with it.
Yeah, my name is Craig Miller, and I'm the beverage director for South Kitchen Spirits out of Jacksonville. So it's northern Florida or southern Georgia, however you want to look at it. And, you know, I think I was 26 when I got sober, so I've been sober over 13 years. And I don't have an elegant story. It wasn't like I was at Tails having a good time partying. I had the state of Georgia arrest me and tell me I needed to quit drinking, and it came from Florida, and that Florida told me I needed to quit drinking. So I had 2 states tell me to stop drinking, and you know, thankfully I listened to that aspect. And you know, I've been in the service industry for 25 years. I started when I was like 14, working for an Italian chef. You know, and they always kind of give you little nits. I think maybe everybody that's been in the industry a long time has kind of been like, you're drinking underage, let's face it. And, you know, whether it's an adult giving it to you or you're sneaking it or what have you. And, you know, that's kind of how I got introduced to it. And once I quit drinking, and, you know, I didn't go immediately back into the bar scene because I didn't know how to react to it. You know, and I think for me, it was kind of one of those things where the longer I've been sober and the longer I've still been in bartending, it's kind of like people are like, let me buy you a shot. I think that's a fear of people that, what do I do if I quit? How do I get perceived in my industry as not sampling my product? I've got a really good sense of smell, so that kind of helps. So I can tell what's in things. But, you know, and the entertainment is always the customers. It's like, let me buy you a shot. No, I'm good. You don't drink? Or why not? You don't like the taste of wine? I just don't drink. my drinking career usually resulted in some sort of violent, physical altercation. You know, I was not a, calm, peaceful, loving, let's just get plastered and have a good time. I was like, I'd go out with friends, and it was safer for me to just drink by myself and isolate. Because in a public setting, my patience level, I don't know if anybody else has lack of patience being behind the bar and dealing with people, which is a challenge in its own right. And, it was like, you go out, people are getting drunk, and you're seeing like stupid things happening, and then I'm drinking more, and my patience level goes down, and it's like, okay, it is now time for a fight. Like, it was the easiest way to solve a problem, and then fortunately, like, I'm glad I don't drink in this day and age, because it seems like everybody's so prone to a different form of violence, other than just like going out to a parking lot or, having a fisticuffs. It's gone to new levels of violence these days, and I'm glad I'm not a part of it. Also, if I can't remember around when I was drinking, but I'd probably still be in prison. There wasn't enough evidence to, like, to be in trouble. But this is what I've learned through, being sober, being in an industry. Everything I did when I was drinking and drugging and doping and doing all that, stuff, with the exception of stealing, I've done it all in sobriety. You kind of figure out who you are and what your thing is and what not to do. And I'm one of those people, like, guilt is just not something that really registers with me, at a full level. I know the difference between right and wrong, but it's like, when I first got sober, I was like, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, if you don't know, who cares? And I did that when I was drinking. And then the longer I got sober, I was like, this probably isn't a good thing to do. This doesn't lead to healthy relationships. And in life, it's like being in an industry. Like, if you're a purchaser and you are buying the product and running the bars, it's about the relationships you have with the people that are selling it to you and, all that. And that's how life is when you're around other people. It's like, what kind of relationship do I have with you? Or we want to talk on a regular basis, and I just want to see you on the other side of the bar. That's how I view, being sober is what relationships have I built with the people that are around me, and how, did I transform into being a positive influence in my life or a negative influence? And, thankfully, negative influence is just going to get put to the side. I don't have to deal with it. It's not worth it at this day and time, because, God, I feel like an old man in this industry. Like, all of my staff is like, I feel like half my age. And, it's like, I feel like the grandfather. And, even in Jacksonville, the majority of it seems like people that are in the bar industry and service industry are so young. And, I've just become a people watcher. Let's watch the shit show in church. And, it's like you sit back and you're like, whew, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. Or I'm glad I'm not feeling that way today. And the other thing that sucks as you get older, and, when I quit drinking, it's like, I remember being up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, running nightclubs and, sports bars, and being, watching the sun come up, and then you sleep all day, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And now with old age and high blood pressure and, medication, and it's like, all right, go, I got to bed, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the alarm hasn't even gone off yet. It's 7 a.m. I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to get up this early. And then, thankfully, I don't do the late night bar scenes anymore, or even work late at night. And it's, it's a blessing in its own disguise. And when I first got sober, I did like the meeting every day, and, when was very involved with anonymous programs and what have you. And as I've gained length of time in sobriety, I still work with men and sponsor other people, and it's like anything else, life comes up, life happens, and whether it be personal and family, or, friends or work. And so I'm not, go to a meeting every day kind of guy. I think after a while, when you're in the throes of, being drunk and high, and, if you're an alcoholic or, kind of lose that choice. You lose your own choice to make the decision. You're just, you know what you're getting into, and you know what you're doing, and that's about the end of it. After a while, you get sober, you get that thing called a choice back again, and so you can choose to whether go out and partake in the nightlife and have fun and, you know, do all that. And I'm like, these guys, man, I had a fucking ball. And if you got me, I still love alcohol. Like, every day. I still love smelling it. Like, I just miss it. I don't even try it, you know. It's like, you know, but I had the pleasure of going to a Scotch dinner last night, four-course, you know, Scotch dinner, and amazing food. And they're making drinks, and, you know, listen to Tracy talk about Glenfiddich, and you're like, cool, let's smell it. It's got a pretty impressive liquor cabinet at my house as well, too. You know, so friends go over, it's like, ooh, let's get into it. And, but for me, it's, you know, just having that choice, you know, and I think after a while, you just get to choose, you know. It's not like you're in high school anymore where you're getting told where you need to be at from 9:40 to 10:20. Now, you get a choice on what you're going to do today, and it's going to be, you know, do I feel like going back and having maybe a third state, you know, arrest me and tell me, maybe be a quick drink again. You know, it's like, do I want to push the envelope to see if I can get 50 states to arrest me? You know, tell me, you might need a, I think I could do it. You know? You could probably do it without having drinking too. You know, and I'm not prone to violence anymore. That's the good thing. That was always the worst. You know, you wake up it's like, man, why am I on black? Or, you know, where's this come from? And you're with friends and like, how did last night go? And you go, well, you got the better end of it, and so he looked worse than you. I'm like, all right, cool, that's all I care about. It's like that ego trip that I needed. And, you know, unfortunately, I think still being, as a bartender behind the bar, I'm still very ego-filled. You know, I think we're behind the bar is, people say, because you like to be on stage. You know, I have no problem with being the center of attention at all. I mean, I kind of prefer that. I like being the one, and you're kind of in charge too. You know, as being behind the bar, if someone pisses you off, you can be like, it's time for you to get it. And there's nothing they can do about it. And so to me, it's that you still kind of get that ego and that power trip a little bit. And, you know, I think that's the worst part about trying to be sober, you know, and in the industry is that you're fighting with your own self and what your own, you know, defects are and what drives you and motivates you. And, you know, but I just thought it was cool when Ingrid, you know, was a big ass me and invited me to come here and sit with these guys and be a part of this. And I've done plenty of speaking around the state. That's always had, you know, smaller conventions, and I've, you know, spoken to, you know, Rotaries and, you know, the professional suit and tie, businessman and woman, but it's definitely cool being asked to come here and sit on this panel and, you know, share quick, you know, individuals. That's why we're in the service industry. You know, some of us look like we're not approachable. Shake the head, know that, you know, don't smile a lot. Don't let it fool you, you know, pretty nice. But, you know, yeah, I'm just glad to be here with all you guys and, you know, let's do what everybody else has got to say, or if there are questions, or, you know, what have you.
You guys,
you need more coffee, or you need to go get a drink and Bloody Mary, or.
So Kathleen Gerard is licensed mental health counselor and certified addiction professional, and she's going to just join the panel and answer questions as well.
does anybody have any questions?
Well, first of all, thank you all for sharing your experiences here this morning. It's really, really valuable to hear the stories. I guess I struggle with this in my own life, so maybe I'm just projecting. How do you feel about doing this thing that brings you a lot of joy and makes people happy, but on the other end, knowing you're perpetuating this disease at the same time? How do you deal with this in your mind, or just throw it out there?
Right, start with the easy question.
Yeah.
Hey, we're short on time.
Actually, that's an easy question.
Yeah, no, people think it's a tough question. It's really not. One thing that I said prior was, you know, we pitch happiness. And we're talking about a basis of a group of people, right? It's kind of like the squirrel in the forest method. You know, we save the whole forest, or we worry about the one squirrel that everybody's Instagramming. That may sound fucked up, and I get it and I understand it. Guys, we're in the industry of booze. There's people that can drink and there's people that cannot. Okay? This is not like, yeah.
I'm just going to give you a few questions, just like
let's say you have somebody at the door, all right, they're being loud, belligerent, they're being disruptive. What are you guys gonna do? You cut them off, right? You identify somebody who has problems with alcohol,
Yeah.
all right? You have somebody who's on, let's say, 6 shots of booze. They're completely fine. They're talking to their friends. You know what I mean? They're not identifiably an alcoholic or anything. They just handle their booze really well. Do you do anything?
At that point, I usually like slow them down, at least like let
You're
them see
identifying,
what happens.
you're identifying something, this and that. So
Right.
the language you use was something, and I'm not being a dick, I'm just like trying to like, it's just like you said, perpetuating. You know what I mean? Like, what you do naturally, all of us in this room do. You know what I mean? So just like when I'm in the bar, even when I used to drink at my worst, I see a guy who's doing like 4 or 5, like, yo, it's like, or he's going to the bathroom, 2 lines of blow, I'm like, yo, this guy has a problem, I don't want him here. You know what I mean? Or we're gonna have to make sure, or, you know, you see somebody that's had too much, you know what I mean, 9 times out of 10, just like, nah, we need to call this person new to make sure they get home safe. This is stuff that we always do. So it's like, you know, by perpetuating it, you know what I mean, this is what I do for a living. If anything, I'm more vigilant of it because, you know what I mean, I know, you know what I mean, I can pretty much spot it a little bit better than other people do. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like, and this is going to be fun, it's like an allergy, right? The question that I've always taken up like this is like, yo, how can you give these people, you know, or this situation, or it's like an allergy, right? If you're allergic to lobster, you don't go to a restaurant and order a shit ton of lobster, right? But that's not fair. That's not fair to everybody else who can have lobster, right? So you can't look at it as just like, well, we're affecting this person with this disease. No, they know what the situation is. If they're putting themselves to eat the lobster, then it's a choice that they're making, you know. That's like me walking down the road and saying, well, somebody is allergic to something, and I so happen to have that thing. I don't know that, and it's not my place to say, hey, you can't have that either, because now I'm telling you what's doing your life. You know?
Okay, try that once.
Yeah.
What do you think about, you know, as you know, people will talk about this one thing I have. My response to that would be that as bartenders, the baseline is to keep everybody, employees, guests, everybody safe, comfortable, and healthy. And that's, you can't do any other part of the job until those things have been affected. And if you're having an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, of course, if you're working here or drinking here, it's your job, the first thing to do.
Well, absolutely. You can't let the patients run the asylum, right?
Yes, you can.
But that doesn't mean the people, as you said, like, it's possible to have a healthy relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. You got to realize we live in a time where an excuse is a reason for a lot of people. You know, people drink themselves single. They drink themselves to have more drinks. Like, people ask me, well, don't you think you can handle one? Yeah, because if I'm deciding this hard, if I can handle one, where do you think my thought process is going to be after that one? I'm like, I can handle 2. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like this effect, but I understand why you would ask that. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question, just based off of you gentlemen and the fact that your experiences were at Tails. What's your thoughts on that and Tails as a whole in terms of this situation?
You recording?
What's that, man? Shit, freaking, one of the first things you start learning when you become sober, start looking at the mirror, seeing who's really there. You know what I mean? You start becoming accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, Tails are big talking to anything that I would have done anywhere else. You know, was I in an environment? Was it a safe environment? Hell fucking no. I think a lot of the reasons, just like something like right here where I'm talking to a room full of people, like I don't think I'm looking at anybody here as a problem with alcoholism, but I don't know anybody here. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm just here to politely remind you is just like, yo, man, just like, yo, keep it in check. Watch it, be vigilant. This will kill you. This job will kill you if you are not vigilant. You know?
We live in a place where it's easier to blame something. It would be very easy for me to be like, fucking Tails, put me this. No. If I wanted to get drunk, fucked up, right now, I could do it. Right? I could walk right out or go. I could do this. I think there's one city I've ever been to in the world where I was like,
I think it's
I
just,
can't find drugs.
I think the fact that this is your first seminar, just like, yo, man, you're all together, we're all like, you know what I mean? You're all friends, you all know each other. There's going to be a lot of camaraderie, you're chilling, lots of fun happening. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the point, you know? But also keep in mind, you know what I mean? And I tell people, and I'm unapologetic, which is why I don't really work. That's why Q-Tonic sponsors us and not a booze brand. I tell you very quickly, just like yo, alcohol is not safe. What we sell people is not safe. This is not healthy. You know, but trust me, I can tell you a million things that are healthy. If you were to, you know, a doctor's never going to tell you, you know what I mean, like, yo, you should fucking drink, you know what I mean? This is not, you know what I mean? This is, you know what I mean? Is it healthy in terms of just like, all right, you know, if we're going to really make that strong argument, you know what I mean? Is it something where just like, all right, this really helps social situations, does it build relationships? Of course, you know what I mean? Sitting with people and talking and having that, but be vigilant that, you know, we are surrounded by it every fucking day. All we have to do is reach. Like, you know what I mean? We're in a special position. We're just like, yo, like, and even if you're not in the bar, you go to a friend's bar, you're not gonna get a check. You know, or you're gonna get hooked up. Or you're gonna go somewhere here or there, and you're surrounded by it. You know what I mean? We live very, very special, different lives in the industry. You know what I mean? Just like, yo, working in hospitality is not, just be vigilant, man. It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
Not everybody can handle this job.
That doesn't just go for booze. Like, I said it to Giuseppe the other day, and he was like, fuck, this is crazy. My biggest addiction was never drugs or alcohol. My biggest addiction was food. Like, I got up to 487 pounds. That's fucking crazy. I've lost over 50% of my body weight, right? That was my biggest vice. That was my biggest addiction. This doesn't just go for certain things. This goes for everything that you overdo as a person. You know, when I tried to start losing weight the first time, I literally listened to a Fat Joe podcast, the rapper Fat Joe, and he said, because he had lost like 180 pounds, and he said something that I thought was brilliant. He goes, how hard is it for you to do drugs? You can just call the plug comes in and gives you the drugs, you pay them, that's that, right? Cool, so whatever your vice is, you have a plug, you gotta look at it as it's that severe. He's like, so mine was weight. He said, I used to drive down the road, and I would like, look at all these plugs, you got all this fast food, nice food, you got. Now, if you look at all these places like they're plugs, fuck, who's the real drug dealer here? Yes, you can go in those places and eat and do well for yourself. But it was my choice to go in and overeat and then drink and then overdrink and then go out there and get blasted off of drugs. You know, that's.
So on that though, here's a question that actually you might have. So how hard is it to deal with that when you have to eat to live?
What do you
Just
mean?
in general, like you can't
You can
just
stop
like,
drinking, but-
you can't stop drinking food, you can't cultivate alcohol and drugs, you can pull that plug, but you can't ever really pull the plug out for food.
Well, that's my example so I can eat or I can gorge. You know, I can feed myself. It's the same way that
Where do you find the line? And when did that happen, like the line, when we were like, okay, I can stop, or I can feed it?
when I can look in the mirror and be proud of what I'm doing. When I look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of what I did today.
So do you think you can't do cocktails or?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
Like I'll taste the spit. If I felt that I could drink tomorrow, I would do it. But I don't. That's what I'm saying. It all bases off, for me, your surroundings. And there's a lot of things that go into it, right? You stop drinking, you kind of go, you shut down, you don't want to go to a bar because people are going to ask you, you don't want to tell them you're not drinking. You know, you go through this kind of shame, you go through all these stages. And I've used this example several times. It's like we're all a game of Jenga, right? We all got this same game. Some of us have missing pieces. I have a lot of missing pieces. For some people base their life on trying to make that look like a perfect square or a box, right? Whatever it is. By filling those empty spaces and those empty voids with other things, drugs, alcohol, infidelity, whatever it is that you want to put in there, they try to fill this and make it look perfect. It's not to the point where you can look at it and say, I'm happy with what I am. I'm happy with what I see in the mirror. No, I'm not that billionaire, and I'm not this guy who's chiseled walking around the beach. I'm not this other person. I am Nectaly Mendoza, and I'm very happy with what I am and who I am. This is my Picasso, and I know the worth of who I am. I know the value of what I am. So I'm very proud of it.
Oh, sorry, I know I'm coming
No,
here. So then, based off of that, like, what did you do to get to that? Like, did you go to a therapist? Like, how did you build that view of yourself?
At first, I called Giuseppe. The biggest, the first thing in realizing, to fixing a problem is realizing there is one. I knew I had a problem, and I knew that at that point, I needed help. And that's another tough thing to even admit that you need help. Especially when the world's looking at you like, this guy got to melt. You know, this guy's making thousands of dollars. He's doing all these things. He has a successful bar. He's extremely busy. He's got everything going for him. Beautiful family and everything. But it wasn't. So I knew I needed help. I needed help. So I reached out.
It's that rock bottom moment.
Yeah, but when you're at rock bottom, you're perfect level.
But also to take what he's saying, like, if you want to feel good about yourself, it's all about what are you doing behind the scenes. Like, if you want to feel good, do esteemable things. Get involved in charity. I mean, I sit on 3 different boards of directors, one for Children's Foundation, I don't have kids, one for Halfway House in Jacksonville. Do things to make yourself feel better. You can put the plug in the jug and quit drinking or quit boozing or eating, but you're still stuck with yourself if you're not giving it back. Like, it's all about what kind of work are you doing behind the scenes that nobody else is seeing that makes you feel good. You know, it's like, I'm a feel good junkie. I mean, seriously, like, when you drink it, at a certain point, you feel good, so you keep doing it because you feel good. And, you know, you're smoking pot is because you feel good. So if you start doing things that make you feel good, whether it's like, I play golf. Like, I have other rights, I like to gamble. Hell, I'm staying at the Hard Rock for the next 2 minutes. Like, screw it, you know, it is what it is. But if it makes you feel good and you're not doing it to excess, then do it. Because it'll make you're doing esteemable things. You're giving back to society and to the world and the people around you. So yeah, we identified that we had a problem. You know, you had a bottom of the fish to recover, but you can't just stop there. I mean, it's like crying and not doing any of the action. It's like saying, man, I want a better job. Well, if you're just want to get off your ass and go out and find it, what's the point? You know, you have to put action in. It's all about putting in. So if you want to feel good, it's about what kind of esteemable things you're willing to do behind the scenes.
Everybody else?
So, a lot of this conversation has been like self-reflection. What's the course of action if you have close friends that you know are down that hole and can't help themselves, or are not in a position to, or need to have a talk?
It's not like that, or someone
You want
just waiting.
You want Giuseppe or me to sound fucked up about this?
Well, I think this is where Courtney says something, because I will say something to the effect, remember when I said, like, I'm not emotionally invested in whether or not you give a shit? I'm not emotionally invested. I've had enough people, when Nick fooled me, I literally was just like, all right, like, I'm a firm believer, this is just me personally, I'm a firm believer that small actions create big changes in behavior. So I was like, Nick, all you have to do every day, once a day, is call me. Not a fucking text, not a fucking hello, you're gonna call me once a day, every day, and tell me if you're sober. That's it. And for the first week, every day, blind, I'm just like, I don't care if I don't pick up that phone, if I don't get that fucking phone call, don't ever call me again. You know? But then that evolved, and just like, all right, now you can do this. Now you can do that. But what you're asking is an intervention. You know, I don't do interventions. You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you look around at your friends and other people and you can see a problem, let's look at it like this. We're all just sitting here, right? And if I said, stop jumping up and down, you would be saying, there's nothing to be done, right? And if I said, stop doing somersaults, you would say, there's nothing to be done. And if I said, stop me from jumping up and down, you would say, and if I said, stop me from running around in circles, you would say, if I said, make Congress get along, you would say.
There's nothing to be done.
Exactly. Make them do what's in the best interest of the population. Okay. Make your friend get sober.
I say this, and people, Giuseppe and myself, have gotten heat for this, but we were like, yo, what do you do when you see your buddy on the side of the road, throw it out there? And Giuseppe's answer at one of the seminars was like, fucking color jackets. Like, yo, what are you doing? Like, that's fucking, but here's my example to it, like, if so, you have to be able to reach out. If somebody falls, it's okay to pick them up and then move forward. We can do that, yes. But I'm not gonna, they have to reach out and help grab my hand, and I pick them up and say, okay, cool, this is the direction. But the moment that I say, this guy's all fucked up, he doesn't want to get up. He doesn't want to move forward. He's just laying there, and I grab him, and I start dragging him. I'm actually hurting him. I'm not helping this person, because this person can't help themselves.
That's when there's nothing to be done.
Exactly.
When they reach out and say, I need some help, then there is something to be done. So it's identifying when there's something to be done.
Ken, I'll give you, there's something in the program we call GOD, G-O-D, the gift of desperation. You know, where it's just like, you know, like you don't even have a choice. You know what I mean? So like when I freaking decided to get sober, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I decided today's the day I'm gonna get sober. You know, I felt like it was hopeless. I felt that I was never gonna do it. And a conversation with my mother and her telling me my grandfather freaking was in the program. He did it. You know what I mean? It was the first time in years that I felt hope. But you know what I mean? Like when you're in the bottom, you know, I don't know if everybody's been there, but I know that when you're in the bottom and you're in that dark place, you're by yourself, man. You know what I mean? And ain't nobody gonna take you out of there. You can be surrounded in this room, and if you're in that dark place, ain't nobody gonna take you out. You know what I mean? At some point, you know what I mean, you have to feel pain so bad that you either, it has to end. And you either, you know what I mean, you either hurt yourself or you get help because you need it to end. You know what I'm saying? And people will find ways, you know what I mean? And the reason, you know what I mean, I think we were just talking about things that feel good, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in a program, like, my answer is always yes. You know, like, I'm missing 2 days of work, paying for an extra hotel room. I've got fucking a million things in my personal life I need to do, whether it's talk or full of strangers. But my answer is always yes. And I don't do it because I don't know any of you. I do it because this helps my sobriety. Being of service helps my sobriety. So today, like I usually catch a meeting every day. Today I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to go to a meeting today because let me fucking talk to a bunch of people about what the fuck up I was and I was drunk.
It goes to something you were saying a second ago, you were addressing, I think, three, like that. It's like, addressing, you know, like I'm shameful, and I don't want to, you know, like, when I'm not drinking, I want to be like, yo, I'm not drinking and stuff. When did you go from shame to like prideful? And like, no, I'm not doing this, and this is, or are you not there yet? I mean, I feel, you know.
Are you saying like when did I, like, let's be honest, when can you go out in public again? Is like basically.
Ish, yeah. Like,
yeah, no, I'll be honest, man, when I got sober, man, this shit wasn't, for me personally, I don't know how anybody else went through, this is what I went through. I got sober and I was like, fucking got me. It got me. It fucking got me. Like I didn't, and I just was like, damn. And I remember walking into Herbs, and I walked up to a person that somebody may know here named Matthias. And I walk up to him and I'm like, he's like, yo man, like, how's tells? You want a beer? It's like $5. I said, yo man, I think I'm done. And he looked at me and was just like, we're done with what? I said, I think I'm done with all of this. He's like, cool. Sounds good. Where do I help? And what do we do? I said, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I got a hold of Giuseppe. This is kind of the route I'm going to go. You know, and like he literally would call me every day. This is the guy that I would get completely smashed with and would say, you know, where are we going now? What are we doing? I didn't feel comfortable. We're all going to the bar now. I don't really want to go to the bar. Why? Because I'm tempted, right? Like, I don't know where I'm at right now, I'm confused. I would walk around, I'd have hoodies on, I'd be embarrassed, I didn't want people to recognize me. I'd go to restaurants, and in Vegas, I have a lot of people who genuinely love me. That city loves me. I go into restaurants, and they're just like, oh, you know, Nectaly's here, and they do these things for me, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to tell them that I'm not true. So I stopped going out, I secluded myself, I became like this fucking, like, I didn't want to go out. There was maybe 10 people that would come see me in my house. I jumped behind the bar for one shift, I started shaking, I was like, there's something wrong with me. I went back home, I didn't set foot back in Iraq in 6 months, I stayed at home. I became this, like I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, I was all these things. And I got past that by saying, yo, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm very proud of what I am. But yeah, I went through that. I went through that aggressively, man. Like, you know, you hear these stories and they're just like, damn, like, Nectaly's here. Do you remember that one time we were in Peru and like you did LSD and we're talking to a llama? And I'm like, yeah, not really, man. Fucking Jew, because if you have a video, I'd love to watch it. Pretty sure we all had a blast. I don't remember any of it. And, you know, I said this to I use this example in fucking, because I heard it was like, and I did this in I think in Brooklyn. I said, this is how I ended up figuring out, for me, of being confident around other people. And just knowing that I was happy with who I am. Like a cuttlefish has a really, really big head, right? And because this cuttlefish has such a because the cuttlefish has such a big head, it don't look right. So all the other fish kind of start veering away from it. Like, fuck, I don't want to fuck with this dude. But the cuttlefish doesn't give a fuck. You know why? Because inside that really big head, he has a really big brain. I realize I have a really big brain and I don't give a fuck anymore. Like I'm happy with who I am. And if people don't want to be around me, I'm like, fuck it. But I'm confident with who I am, what I've become, and what my future's about to be.
Let me just pose this question, everybody, the way my sponsors posed it to me once. You know, because I think you're talking about FOMO, like, you know what I mean? How do I go to these different events and whatnot? And literally, he was just like, he's a bartender too, and he was straight up like, Joey, can you imagine your life without drinking? I was just like, yeah. Just like, do you think, you know, you can be happy without drinking? And I said, I don't think so, man. And it's just like, you need to think about that, because isn't that sad? But like, think about it, even now you're drinking, it's like, yo, how sad is it that you are incapable of happiness without drinking? You know what I mean? So like, feeling shame that when he just spilled out to me, I'm just like, you're right, like I need to find other things that make me happy. I was more than this. I was more than this one thing, hanging out with people. There's more to me, you know? And I know it started off real negative, or it's like, oh, the worst day of my life. You know, things I have now, you know, I have a relationship with my children, it's fucking incredible. I am financially stable, you know what I mean? I left my hometown that I heard about leaving, left a toxic business relationship. I never thought would fucking change it. People were worried about me. I was like, no, man, I made a deal 4 or 5 years when I was still drinking, and now I'm sober, and this doesn't make me happy no more. You know what I mean? I travel the world, and I talk about sobriety, I also travel the world, you know what I mean? Just on my own time and chill. I do things, you know what I mean, that like, don't involve drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like today I woke up this morning and I'm just like, all right, I gotta talk to my daughter. She's starting a new job, great. She's applying to college, you know, near me. And I ran on a 6-mile run. Today, like I was 120 pounds heavier. If you ask me, I'm not even fucking with you right now. You're like, Joey, you need to run 26 miles. I can do that. And it won't hurt the next day. And I can run ultra marathons just for shits and giggles. You know? Like I can do things I never thought I was capable of. It does.
Guys, we need to kind of wrap it up. You guys, I'm sure these gentlemen would be happy to answer questions, but we have a seminar that has to start on time next
Finishing positive, guys. It's great.
Last thing I'll say to end all this, and I always hear this, you know, people say, oh man, you partied last night, like, you've been working hard all week, let's go out and get smashed. We've been doing this, but you deserve to do this. you've been doing this, you deserve to do that. A real friend, somebody who genuinely loves you, will be like, man, like you fucking worked really hard all week, man. Like you deserve to get some rest to get next week strong. I'll encourage you to do positive shit. So just remember that. Keep positive and just fucking keep moving forward, man. And live your best life.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.